Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Brajagalarandana Yashodanandana Brajagalarandana Jamuna Tira Vanantari Jamuna Tira Vanantari Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Brajagalarandana Yashodanandana Brajagalarandana Jamuna Tira Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Sri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Shabad, His Divine Grace Siraboy Charandarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Skandi Biti Founder Charyas Divine Grace Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai Ratrashna Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga All glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Takshurundiritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Prabhakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vikam Tvam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Sakadvikam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Pranamami Hare Vansakalpatarubhyasya Vipasindubhya Sat Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraят. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayavadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, it becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam Uttama-shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Yeshreya Sailokasya Dhanyam Swasayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Mukam karoti vasalam tvang gom langayate grinna Yad kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinatalum Yad kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinatalum. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the morning program and to our Srimad Bhagavatam reading. We are continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 17, which is entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. And today we're looking at number 16, right? It's number 1, 6. So that's 1, 17, 16.
1, 7, 1, 6.
Rajno hi paramo dharma swadharma stanupalanam shasato anyan yatha shastram anapadi utpadhan iha rajno hi paramo dharma swadharma stanupalanam shasato yan yatha shastram
Shastram
Anapadyut Patan Iha
Anapadyupataniha
Rajno hi paramo dharma
Rajo hi paramo dharma
Dharma sanupalanam
Dharma sanupalanam
Shasato yan yatha shastram
Shasato nyaya shastram
Anapadyut Patan Iha
Anapadyupataniha
Rajno hi paramo dharma
Rajo hi paramo dharma
Dharma sanupalanam
Dharma sanupalanam
Shasato yan yatha shastram
Shasato nyaya shastram
Anapadyut Patan Iha
Anapadyupataniha
Rajno hi paramo dharma
Rajno hi paramo dharma
Swadharmasta anupalanam
Swadharmasta anupalanam
Shastro anyan yata shastram
Shastro anyan yata shastram
Napade uta patanniha
Anapadyupataniha
Rajno hi paramo dharmaha
Rajno hi paramo dharma
Dharmastanupalanam
Swadharmastanupalanam
Ashato anyan yata shastram
Shasato anyan yata shastram
Napadi utpadan iha
Anapadyupataniha
राज्ञो हि परमो धर्मः
Rajno hi paramo dharma
स्वधर्मास्तानुपालनम्
Swadharmastanupalanam
शासतो न्यायता शास्त्रम्
Shasato nyayata shastram
अनापत्युत्मतानीह
Anapadyupataniha
Ladies.
राजनो हि परमो धर्मः
Rajno hi paramo dharma
धर्मासानुपालनम्
Swadharmastanupalanam
शासतो न्यायता शास्त्रम्
Shasato nyayata shastram
अनापद्युत्पदातिः
Anapadyupataniha
Rajnaha
Rajnaha
of the king
of the king
or the executive head.
or the executive head
He
he
certainly
certainly
Paramaha
Paramaha
supreme
supreme
Dharmaha
Dharmaha
occupational duty
occupational duty
Swadharmasta
Swadharmasta
one who is faithful
one who is faithful
to his prescribed duty.
to his prescribed duty
Anupalanam
Anupalanam
giving protection always.
giving protection always
Shashataha
Shashataha
while ruling.
while ruling
Anyan
Anyan
others.
others
Yatha
Yatha
according to
according to
Shastram
Shastram
rulings of scriptures.
rulings of scriptures
Anapadi
Anapadi
without danger.
without danger
Utpadhan
Upadan
persons going astray.
persons going astray
Iha
Iha
as a matter of fact.
as a matter of fact
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinances of the scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. Kindly repeat after me. The supreme duty
The supreme duty
of the ruling king
of the ruling king
is to give all protection
is to give all protection
to law-abiding persons
to law-abiding persons
and to chastise those
and to chastise those
who stray from
who stray from
the ordinances of the scriptures
the ordinances of the scriptures
in ordinary times,
in ordinary times,
when there is no emergency.
when there is no emergency.
Purport. In the scriptures, there is mention of apadharma, or occupational duty, at times of extraordinary happenings. It is said that sometimes the great sage Vishwamitra had to live on the flesh of dogs in some extraordinary, dangerous position. In cases of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description, but that does not mean that there should be regular slaughterhouses to feed the animal eaters, and that the system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live on flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of the palate. If anyone does so, the king or the executive head should punish him for gross enjoyment. There are regular scriptural injunctions for different persons engaged in different occupational duties, and one who follows them is called swadharmasta, or faithful in one's prescribed duties. In the Bhagavad Gita 18:48, it is advised that one should not give up his occupational prescribed duties, even if they are not always flawless. Such swadharma might be violated in cases of emergency, if one is forced by circumstances, but they cannot be violated in ordinary times. The state executive head is to see that such swadharma is not changed by the follower, whatever it may be, and he should not give, and he should give all protection to the follower of swadharma. The violator is subject to punishment in terms of the Shastra, and the duty of the king is to see that everyone strictly follows his occupational duty as prescribed in the scriptures. Reading again the text or the translation. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinances of the scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. The subject matter of swadharma, very interesting. There is dharma and there is swadharma. And there is dharma and there is param dharma. There are many aspects, many things that are connected actually with dharma. And just like in the beginning of this first canto, the definition of the param dharma is given for all of humanity. Savai pumsam paro dharmo dato bhakti radhok saji ahaitukya pratihata yagatma suprasidati. One of many very important verses in the Bhagavatam describing what is the supreme dharma for all living entities. Here we are hearing about the param dharma, or the supreme dharma, for those who are kings or those who are executive heads in society. And of course, it is in terms of giving proper protection. Giving proper protection is a first and foremost responsibility of anyone in any kind of leadership position. And that protection is meant to facilitate one's practice and advancement in spiritual life. This is like very basic fundamental principle that is there in the Vedic culture. Tato Brahma Jigyasa. Now that we have attained this human form of life, we should be inquisitive as to what is the primary purpose and what is the primary goal of life. And if we read the basic Shastra like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and for that matter, any other scripture. There are so many different types of scriptures, but the most important, the most complete, the most profound scriptures are actually the Vedic literatures. And they are meant to become, actually, they're meant to be the standard in terms of practices, in terms of laws. We've been discussing a little bit about laws. Dharma means laws. Laws enacted, created by the Supreme Lord Himself. So, in many ways, those who are executive heads, those who are leaders in society, they're actually meant to follow. They should be educated, they should be trained. Just like, although Krishna and Balaram did not need to go to Gurukul, but after leaving Vrindavan, Vasudev and Devaki, they sent them to Gurukul because they were sons of Kshatriya. And there's a whole systematic way in which one gets trained. 3 particular leaders, natural leaders in society, they get the basic training, the same training up to a certain extent, beginning, for example, with the Vedas, Vedic knowledge. And of course nowadays, Vedic knowledge, the original Vedas are not so easy to learn. And therefore, we could say more recently, just like Srila Vyasadeva, 5,000 years ago, summarized all of the Vedic knowledge. I mean, he wrote so many different Vedic literatures, but he summarized all of this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And 500 years ago, another very important personality, one of the disciples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Jiva Goswami, he further highlighted the importance of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He actually he described and he established this based on Shastra also, from so many different references, that for us today, 500 years down in Kali Yuga, because what Srila Vyasadeva put in writing with so many of his other, let's say, scholars, and great sages. This is explained by Srila Jiva Goswami. Like 90% of that is gone now, already. We're only in the beginning of Kali Yuga. In the beginning of Kali Yuga, 90% of the Shastra is like not available. So he establishes, Srila Jiva Goswami, that actually it's not possible for ordinary people, even for people who know Sanskrit. Most people who know Sanskrit cannot properly understand the Vedas. And most of the Vedas are gone. Yeah, 90% of the Vedas are gone. So, so therefore, he establishes very nicely, very, very strongly as well, that the Srimad Bhagavatam, which remains intact, fortunately, just like we have the essence, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So he establishes that actually the Srimad Bhagavatam is more important than the original Vedas, because we don't have the original Vedas, and we cannot understand, because to read and to study properly the original Vedas, one has to learn a particular level of Sanskrit. Most people don't even have any level of Sanskrit. So Sanskrit is, there are different more advanced level, and that more advanced level, which is in that particular type of Sanskrit the original Vedas were written, practically no one knows that kind of Sanskrit. And anyways, as we mentioned, as Srila Jiva Goswami points out, it's like 90% of those literatures are not there. And therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam, that's why it is referred to as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures. And we have what is necessary actually to to fully become self-realized through these literatures of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, Bhagavatam is divided into 10 main topics. One of the topics is dealing actually with rulers, because we call it Manu, just like we have the Manu Samhita, so which is part of the Vedic literatures, which is part of what we call Dharma Shastra. So here when we speak about protection, we speak about different laws, different prescribed duties. This is a very important term actually, prescribed duties. Unless we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we cannot properly understand what is the meaning of prescribed duties. We're all individual people. On one level, we are male, we're female. On another level, we have different expected, prescribed responsibilities according to the modes of material nature. And all of these are given in detail actually in the Vedic literatures, beginning especially with the Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, to properly understand, just like it's very nicely explained by one of our more recent Vaishnavacharyas, Srila Bhakti Thakur. He has written very extensively. He has written so extensively that he is referred to as the seventh Goswami. There are 6 Goswamis, he's number 7. He wrote over 100 books, all kinds of subject matters. One of them is very, there are many of them that are very important. One is called Dasamula Tattva. Dasamula Tattva, which is basically summarizing, the 10 most important truths or knowledge that we should be knowing. So in one of those books that he wrote, it's called Sadhana Toshani. Sadhana Toshani. he writes about how it is the responsibility. It's a distraction to everyone when we even look at our cell phone. Jane Bhagavatam. Unless you're a doctor on call, then you have to go out and attend to your call. Otherwise, yeah. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains how one of the foremost responsibilities of brahmanas in villages, before once upon a time most people lived in villages. Once upon a time, not too long ago. And so he mentions that before a young boy reaches the age of 15, his varna should be identified. Varna is very important. Sometimes we give less importance to varna, and let's say in the bigger picture, varna is secondary, but it is a very important secondary, in the sense that if we're not pure devotees, varna is extremely important. And we can count the number of pure devotees on the planet. To become completely disconnected with the modes of material nature, it takes a long time. Even after practicing, Krishna consciousness, even for many years. Because of modes of material nature, we've been connected with these modes of material nature since time immemorial. That's why it's not at all easy to make advancement. Of course, if we have started, many people who come to Krishna consciousness, especially if they take up very quickly, very nicely, is because they have practiced before. Isn't it? We continue from where we left off in our previous life. So the point being that this is something that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to reintroduce, isn't it? This proper training for individuals according to their varna. And so, because Prabhupada often he would say, first is varna. Why did Prabhupada say first is varna? He said that many times. He said two important things. He said many important things. First is varna and first is character. Character. You see, what's the use of having, multiple PhDs if you're smoking cigarettes while you're giving your lectures? If you can't control your senses and engage in what Shastra defines as sinful activities. Taking intoxication, all kinds of intoxication, is sinful activity because it's polluting the body in so many different ways. There are specific, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explained, pravritim cha nivritim cha janana vidur asura. Pravriti marg, nivriti marg. Things that are allowed, things that are not allowed. There is such thing as good and bad, isn't it? Based on what is Shastra, not based on what we individually may think. And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, those who don't know the difference between what is good, what is bad, what is sinful, what is not sinful, they are categorized as asura. Asura means impurified or impure consciousness. So therefore, why did Prabhupada say first is varna? Because varna determines one's education, and also varna determines one's ashram. So ashram is also, both of these terms are still unknown in modern day society. People are gradually coming to know some of the Vedic terms like yoga, and fortunately more and more people are coming to know about karma. That what we do, there's a reaction. If we do good, we get good reaction. If we do bad, we get bad reaction. So prescribed duties is something that is very elaborately described, especially in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, by Srila Narada Muni. And Narada Muni is one of the 12 Mahajans, and it's like the 12 Mahajans, they are the greatest authorities on these principles of dharma. And one of the important instructions given by Narada Muni actually in the 7th canto is that those especially who are taking up the spiritual life, those who are devotees, their foremost responsibility actually is to every day mold their lives in such a way that we deepen our understanding and our following of these principles of dharma. Dharma mulam hi bhagavan sarvaveda harihi smritam charta vidam rajan yena chatma prasidati. This is stated in the 11th chapter of the 7th canto. So smriti means to remember. See, in Kali Yuga, remembrance is difficult. We tend to forget easily. That's one of the prominent symptoms of Kali Yuga. But Narada Muni is telling us, if one actually wants to be serious in practicing spiritual life, then he must especially be focusing on remembering. Okay, what is my primary duty and responsibility in life, and we have a dual, we could say, responsibility, as mentioned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and as repeated many, many times by Srila Prabhupada, especially when speaking to persons who are born in the land of Bharat Varsha, Bharat Bhumita Hailama, Manusya Janamazar, Janmas Sartak Koli Korat Parapakar, very well-known verse, but very important to keep in mind always. We should work on our own advancement in spiritual life by being regulated, by following, sadhana bhakti, as nicely explained by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And as much as possible, we should also be concerned about those who have yet to even come in contact with this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada, like all the other Vaishnavacharyas, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, is emphasizing, this whole aspect of knowing and understanding, especially the duties of those in responsible positions, especially those who are leaders in different countries of the world. And by our different activities, we, as a matter of fact, Srila Prabhupada, many years ago, he had made a list of different suggestions or recommendations he would be giving to, I think I mentioned this some time back, to Indira Gandhi at that time. Prabhupada was always interested in meeting big people because if you can convince someone who's in a big position, if you can impress upon that person the need and the importance. Prabhupada wrote to so many big people actually. And he would tell his disciples when he would travel to different countries, you arrange to meet different people like this. And of course he did. And one of the points that he had in wanting to meet with Indira Gandhi was that before people go and sit in Parliament, they should attend Bhagavatam class. Everyone should actually be hearing from Bhagavatam, otherwise how we can understand about Dharma. The Bhagavatam is that book especially that is very nicely, very systematically explaining about Dharma. And that means the different duties and responsibilities of those who are meant to be brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, and shudras as well. There are so many qualities that are meant to be developed. Although the word shudra is not properly understood, actually it's considered, as we know, a very negative kind of term. But actually shudra is part of the culture, Vedic culture, Varnashrama culture. And shudra means actually someone who has developed certain qualities to become a good servant. So if you want to hire, or if you want to have someone, in India it's still quite common, in other countries people don't have the concept of servant. They don't keep servants. But in India it's still there. So you want someone who's going to be properly serving, someone who's clean. Socham is one of the important qualities of a servant, and also satyam, truthfulness. We want to deal with people who are honest. There's enough cheaters in the world. So what is being highlighted here is this aspect of protection, and in many ways it's the responsibility of all individuals who take up the practice of Krishna consciousness, giving protection, giving knowledge to as many people as possible, sharing this knowledge, and protecting people ultimately from the influence and the forces of Maya. I'm sure there's other aspects that could be discussed, and again, I don't know what time it is, but 7:10. So we can take a few minutes if there's any comments or any questions.
How to find out one's varna?
How to find out one's... You have to go to Gurukul. But a bit late now. There are specific, 4 specific ways